So in recent days, we have heard from two new voices about why Donald Trump is unfit to continue serving as president. Now, those two voices, one is personal, one is professional, but each is compelling in its own way. Let's talk about that, because the future of our democracy, like justice, matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So in recent days, we've heard from two relatively new voices about why Donald Trump is unfit to continue serving as President of the United States. One voice is personal, familial, Donald Trump's sister, Maryanne Trump Barry. The other voice is professional, a gentleman by the name of Miles Taylor. Who is Miles Taylor? Well, he was the chief of staff for the Department of Homeland Security. He was a Trump appointee, serving in that position for 2.5 years, and he's a lifelong Republican. His responsibilities included going in and out of the Oval Office and briefing or providing information to Donald Trump about national security matters, among other things. But let's start with the personal. Marianne Trump Barry. So Marianne Trump Barry is a recently retired federal court judge. She is also Donald Trump's older sister. What we've learned in recent days is that she was recorded without her knowledge by her niece, Mary Trump. That's also Donald Trump's niece, Mary Trump. You may have seen Mary Trump on the news programs. She's on sort of a book tour because she wrote a book about her very famous uncle, the President of the United States, relating stories about how the Trump family viewed her uncle, Donald Trump, and it does not paint a very flattering or favorable picture. So Mary Trump, the niece, and her aunt, Maryanne Trump Barry, were apparently in a family squabble or dispute with other family members over how they were going to divvy up some estate assets. And according to Mary Trump, the niece, she was being defrauded, she was being taken advantage of, so she started recording conversations that she had with family members. Let's touch on the legalities of that first, because these recordings were made in New York, and in New York, there is a one-party consent law. What does that mean? That means if you want to record a conversation you're having with somebody else and both parties are in New York, well then you, if you're doing the recording, if you consent to having your own conversation recorded, then you're not violating the law. You don't have to tell the other party that they are being recorded because it's a one-party consent state. So these recordings that were made by Mary Trump, the niece, of Marianne Trump Barry, the aunt, were perfectly legal. You can decide for yourself whether they're seemly, unseemly, safe, unsafe, whether it's smart if you're in Mary Trump's position trying to protect your interests and you're being defrauded, or that's your perception. But they're legal, so let's just talk about the content of the conversation. I'm going to play a short clip from you, a very short clip, and there are more clips available online about how Donald Trump's sister, Marianne, the retired federal court judge, talks about her brother, the President of the United States. But let's listen to this clip.
This goddamn tweet and the lying. Oh my God, I'm talking too freely, but you know, the change of stories, the lack of preparation, the lying, the holy.
So that is how Donald Trump's sister talks about her brother, the President of the United States. You heard her. The GD tweets and the lying. Oh my God, the change of stories, the lack of preparation, the lying, says Donald Trump's sister, retired federal court judge, somebody who has had a lifetime of experiences enabling her to offer that informed impression of her brother the President of the United States. That's troubling, but what may be even more troubling is the next voice. It's the voice of former Chief of Staff for the Department of Homeland Security, Miles Taylor. Miles Taylor was appointed by Donald Trump, worked under him for 2.5 years, was in and out of the Oval Office, and got to see him up close, a first-hand experience of Donald Trump's performance as President of the United States in the national security arena, because Miles Taylor was present for national security briefings of Donald Trump. Now, Miles Taylor is a lifelong Republican who recently made an ad saying that as a lifelong Republican, given his experiences with Donald Trump, he has no choice but to vote for Joe Biden. And I'm not going to play that ad. You can find it online, but I want to read just a little portion of it because it's frightening. Here's what he says. So Miles Taylor said it was his job to help keep the country safe. Boil it down, the Chief of Staff for the Department of Homeland Security, it was his job to help keep the country safe. And he said, what I saw week in and week out was terrifying. He said, we would go in to the Oval Office and we would try to talk with him, Donald Trump. We would try to talk with him about a pressing national security issue, a cyber attack, a terrorist threat. He wasn't interested in those things. To him, they weren't priorities. He wanted to exploit the Department of Homeland Security for his own political purposes and to fuel his own agenda. He, Donald Trump, is actively doing damage to our security. Those are the words of the Chief of Staff of the Department of Homeland Security, a lifelong Republican, a Trump appointee with a first-hand informed opinion about what he saw Donald Trump doing day in and day out. He didn't care about the security of our country, and what he was doing was actively damaging our national security. Against that backdrop, let's take a quick look at a clip of Miles Taylor being interviewed on CNN recently, and then let's talk on the other side of this clip.
Okay, this president isn't interested in truth. He's interested in his truth. And I can't even believe, John, we're having this conversation, right? I'm an American too. I'm a taxpayer. Yes, I served in the administration. Yes, I'm a lifelong Republican. Yes, I wanted the president to succeed. He disappointed us. But now I'm sitting here talking to you and we're wondering, will the president of the United States facilitate a peaceful transfer of power? I never thought I would say those words to the United States. And I never thought that people would be so scared to speak out against this man. Look, let me tell you this. I've been out here for maybe 48 hours telling the truth about what I experienced with this president. Of course, I've already received vicious, graphic death threats. Now, I'll be fine. No one needs to play the violin for me. But this is why people are scared to speak out. They're scared to speak out because they have families, they live in homes, they have jobs, and they're scared because the president doesn't tamp it down. He fans the flames of this divisiveness, and he makes people fear for their lives. This is the United States of America. This is not Belarus. This is not a country that should be in civil unrest and turmoil, but the president has turned it into one, and that's, again, why we've got to look forward. That's why I came out and decided I've got to support Joe Biden. I may disagree with Joe Biden on a lot of policies and a lot of political areas, but where I don't disagree is that he's a genuine man of character, and that's why this is a character election.
So given that Donald Trump is actively doing damage to our national security, here is one truth that I think at this point has become self-evident. Every Republican who continues to support, enable, assist, aid, and abet Donald Trump in the destruction of our democracy must be held accountable beginning in January in a court of law, because in a very real sense, they are facilitating Donald Trump's crimes against our republic. Let's come at this from another angle. Let's assume that the Republicans' inaction, their refusal to criticize or stand up to Donald Trump, is born of fear and cowardice. I think it's probably a safe assumption. But let's assume it is born of fear and cowardice. Maybe they should stop and think. If that's what motivates these Republicans, fear and cowardice, maybe they should stop and think, what will happen to them beginning in January? Because if we are to pursue justice beginning in January under a Biden administration, when we have a law-abiding president and a law-enforcing attorney general, then not only will Donald Trump be called to the justice carpet, but so will his aiders and abettors and his co-conspirators, his enablers, his accessories after the fact. All these Republicans who are motivated by fear and cowardice, maybe they should be afraid of what's going to happen to them when they end up a defendant in a court of law beginning in January. Maybe they should be afraid of prison. If fear is their thing, if that's what gets them up in the morning, if that's what puts them to bed at night, fear and cowardice, then be afraid of being held accountable in a court of law and going to prison beginning in January 2021, when we begin to enforce the rule of law again. Now, do I really expect the Republicans to have a spontaneous spasm of patriotism? No, probably not. Maybe one or two will, but I don't think we can hold out hope for that. But we do know how we remedy this problem. We remedy this problem by getting to the polls in numbers too big to rig. Too big to rig. Because then, when Donald Trump loses in a landslide and dispatches a team of lackey lawyers to file legal challenges in this state court or that state court contesting the election results, if he has lost in numbers too big to rig, judges will summarily dismiss those challenges, and Donald Trump will be forced out of the White House and into a court of law, as will his co-conspirators, aiders and abettors, accessories after the fact. So if fear and loathing or fear and cowardice is your thing, Republicans, maybe that's what you should be afraid of. And maybe that should motivate you to stand up to Donald Trump. Stand up for the American people, for your constituents. Stand up for our democracy. Stand up for our republic. If you do that, it's kind of win-win, right? It's win for the country. It's win for the people you're supposed to represent. It's a win for democracy, and it's a win for you because maybe you stay out of court beginning in January. Let your fear and cowardice be your guide, but let it guide you to a good place, a place where you're actually representing the interests of the American people. All right, folks. Maybe we'll find a lighter topic to discuss tomorrow. But one way or another, I hope you stay safe, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.